Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the monthly committee meeting of the Health, Seniors, Human Services, Youth Education, and Human Rights Committee. My name is May, and I am the chair. Okay, so today we have a pretty heavy agenda of many items on our agenda tonight, so we want to get through everything. But before we start, we are going to have roll call from the board members. Larry?
Okay. May Lee.
Here.
Larry Chen, present. Tom Bowie. Eric Diaz. Present. Tasia Fields. Present. Diane McConnell, absent. Deborah Glass. Absent. Anna Kakar. Absent. Graven Olivares. Here. Andrani Rivera. Here. Richard Opiak. Here. Arnett Scott and Carmen Perez.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Okay, so also I sent out the minutes to all the committee members last month. Are there any changes to the minutes? No, I don't see anything, so anyone, so the meeting minutes are approved. All right, so let's see now. We have, okay, so is representative from Bellevue here?
Yes, I haven't all raised their hand.
Well, I can see Ryan. I'm going to allow, yeah.
You can just promote panelists.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Okay. Ryan is going to rejoin as a panelist shortly.
Hi, okay, so the first agenda item is a request for support from Bellevue to prioritize funding in the upcoming city and state budgets. Okay, so since we have, a lot going on, many items on our agenda, so I want to put a little time limit on it. So let's see if we can get out of here in about 2 hours. So let's see if, I would like to see if we can keep this agenda item to 15 minutes. We already have a reso and we, so we know what's going on. Okay, so who are the speakers from Bellevue?
Bellevue Cab.
I'm sorry, it would be the cab, right?
Hi, yes, that's correct.
Can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself? Introduce yourself and what you're asking for. We cannot hear you.
Absolutely. So my name is Ryan Federo, and I'm a member of the Bellevue Community Advisory Board.
Oh, wait 1 minute.
Sure.
We should be able to hear them.
It's only coming out of the laptop.
It's only on the left.
1 second.
Audio, yep, right there. Come out of,
Samsung TV.
yes, where is it?
It's right there under.
Yep, underneath it, yeah.
Underneath it. No, under. No,
No, that's not.
That's not it.
that was it. Go back. Click Samsung TV. This where the display.
Speak, Ryan.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
That's it.
All right.
Okay, is your name Ryan?
Yes, my name is Ryan Federo, and I'm a member of the Bellevue CAB. So it's the Community Advisory Board, and I have just a couple of minutes of prepared remarks. Then I will take any questions regarding kind of what I have to say. So,
Okay.
so by day, I'm a clinical research coordinator at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And I manage global health clinical research studies. And then prior to my work at MSK, I was a management consultant where I advised health systems and provider groups on clinical strategy and operations improvements. And these experiences, along with kind of my journey navigating the medical school application process currently, have given me quite a unique perspective on healthcare delivery in the United States and abroad. And I've witnessed firsthand the fragmentation and inequities in care systems, but we've noticed that Bellevue is different. As the oldest public hospital in the US, Bellevue is not just an institution, but it's a cornerstone of healthcare equity. For centuries, it's stood as a symbol of our collective commitment to care for everyone, regardless of income, insurance status, immigration status. Bellevue is a place where the doors are truly always open. And Bellevue offers cutting-edge procedures like cardiac catheterization, endoscopy. We even have ECMO, which is cardiac life support. These are services that at private hospitals, if they're even offered, and when reimbursed by commercial payers, so those are your, United Healthcare, Cigna, Aetna, they often generate the margins that are necessary to subsidize lower or even negative margin services, such as behavioral health and emergency care, which are Bellevue's most storied specialties. However, Bellevue operates under fundamentally different financial pressures. And all hospitals, even not-for-profit centers, must generate a positive margin to survive. It's the reason I had a job as a management consultant. And positive margins allow for reinvestment to fund things like quality improvement initiatives, infrastructure improvements, education, and innovation, all things necessary for a hospital. But hospitals make money primarily through reimbursement from patients' insurers, which includes Medicaid. And Medicaid's the payer for 60% of Bellevue's patients. And Medicaid reimburses in New York State just about 70% of the actual cost of care. So to kind of frame that another way, that means for 60% of the patients that receive their care at Bellevue, Bellevue is reimbursed only 70 cents for every dollar that's spent on caring for that patient. So that obviously creates quite a negative margin. So unlike private hospitals, which rely on a more favorable payer mix skewed towards the higher paying commercial insurers, like your Cignas, your Aetnas, Bellevue's mission as a safety net hospital makes it uniquely dependent on city, state, and federal funding to close the gap. So even with its unmatched resilience and efficiency, Bellevue is facing mounting challenges, and those challenges are about to grow. So the impending closure of Mount Sinai Beth Israel, an already overcrowded Bellevue, is bracing for an influx of patients, particularly in emergency and behavioral health services, which are two of the largest margin contributors, yet most essential areas of care. And the solution is clear, but unfortunately not easy. And that would be increasing Medicaid reimbursement rates. And this isn't just a matter of financial necessity, it's kind of a moral imperative, because raising Medicare reimbursement rates will allow Bellevue to continue providing world-class care to everyone who walks through the doors while maintaining its vital role as the flagship hospital of the New York City Health and Hospital System, or NYCH&H. And it will ensure that Bellevue can expand critical service lines, invest in infrastructure, increase capacity, and meet the growing needs of our city without having to compromise its historic mission. Bellevue is more than just a hospital, and it's a promise that everyone, regardless of circumstance, will receive the care that they need and deserve. And tonight, I ask for your support in fulfilling that promise and securing Bellevue's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, so we have, we've heard from Ryan about the situation at Bellevue. We have are there any questions from the committee? Yes.
I was sort of curious about a comment that he made that suggested that Bellevue might be in danger of closing. Did you misspeak, or is that a reality?
No, sorry, Mount Sinai Beth Israel is closing.
Thank you. Right.
But it affects Bellevue. Okay. If there are no questions, you are requesting some support. And we do have a draft resolution that we can show to everyone, to the committee. We should be. Okay, so here is the resolution. It's in front of you on the screen. I can read aloud what it says. So it says, it's a community board 3 support for increased funding for New York City Health and Hospitals, Bellevue. It says, whereas New York City Health and Hospitals, Bellevue is a public health care institution serving as tertiary care hospital and plays an indispensable role within the New York City Health and Hospital system, including access to crucial medical services for residents living in CB3 and New York City as a whole. And whereas Bellevue plays an integral role in ensuring that all New Yorkers receive much-needed medical care, including a large percentage of uninsured and Medicaid-dependent patients, nearly 60% of whom depend on Medicaid. And whereas in December 24, Bellevue's patient census exceeded full capacity with long wait times for emergency care, beds, and appointments, burdening not only patients, but also healthcare workers. And whereas current Medicaid reimbursement rates cover only about 70% of the cost of care provided, creating a substantial funding shortfall for Bellevue, with estimates that full Medicaid reimbursement in 2021 alone could have generated an additional $863 million in funding for the hospital. Whereas the proposed closure of Mount Sinai Beth Israel would greatly increase the number of patients Bellevue sees through emergency, inpatient, and outpatient services, further straining existing capacity issues. And whereas Dr. Mitchell Katz, Chief Executive Officer of New York City Health and Hospitals, has spoken about the great need for facility expansion and renovation at Bellevue, given the rapidly increasing demand as reported by the Bellevue CAB. And whereas Bellevue particularly provides crucial care and serves marginalized communities to access quality and affordable health care with regard to the patient's financial circumstances. So therefore be it resolved that Community Board 3 supports prioritizing increased funding in the New York State and New York City budgets for New York City HHC Bellevue, so that current capacity is retained and expanded to sustain its goal in meeting healthcare needs for all New Yorkers. Are there any questions about it? No? Yes? Choose one? No? Okay. So are we ready to vote on this? Yes? Okay. Oh.
What?
We should have roll call, right? Yeah, we should take,
As long as you put the numbers down.
as long as we put the numbers down?
You have to just say how many people voted.
Okay. Should I just read people's names?
Yes,
Okay. Mei Lee,
yes.
Ray Penn, yes. Tom Bui,
Yes.
Eric Diaz,
Yes.
Taisha Fields.
Yes.
Gwevin Olivares.
Yes.
Andromeda Rivera.
Yes.
Richard Doviak.
Yes.
Oh, and Deborah Glass.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it passes. And so it's gonna go, go to the full board in the end of February, and if they vote on it, if they vote to pass it, then it's becomes our position that we support it.
All right. Thank you all very much for the time.
Okay, thank you.
It's less than 15 minutes.
Yes, you're right. Okay. You asked.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, he gave us. Thank you, yeah, he gave a good presentation. Okay, is it okay? Is it okay with you?
Listen.
I know, but okay, you can wait, right? No, okay, she says it's okay, so, and you're second on.
I was just reading the order.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you, so our next. Yeah, so our next, is, we're having a presentation from Goddard Riverside and it is about, their work and outreach to the homeless. Please introduce yourself and you can start.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Alyssa.
Yeah, so.
Okay, okay, is this good?
Yeah.
Good, okay. Okay, hi everybody, my name is Alyssa Wrinkle. I'm the program director for the Manhattan Outreach Consortium Downtown team. My agency is Goddard Riverside. And the Manhattan Outreach Consortium is the part of the DHS-funded outreach teams that provide services in Manhattan. So we partner with 2 other agencies and we have a total of 4 teams that provide outreach to clients that are street homeless. And we work with them to get into transitional and eventually permanent housing. Besides that, we also provide wraparound case management services and help them with pretty much anything that might come up for them. We help get them linked to medical and psychiatric care. We help them get their benefits active and stay active. We help them manage crises. We connect them with other mental health resources, help them get in touch with their family if they're interested in that, refer them to employment programs if they're interested in that. Pretty much anything that you can think of that might come up in someone's life, we either try to help them with or refer them to someone that can help them. All of our clients are, like I said, street homeless, and we only work with adults. So the DHS, Department of Homeless Services, created the outreach teams as a response to trying to assist the people that were refusing to deal with the traditional shelter system. So anyone that's staying in a shelter, that's not our system, that's not our client. It's a completely separate system. And the transitional housing system that we work with is the safe haven and stabilization bed system. So those forms of transitional housing are lower barrier, they don't have curfews, they have more social service staff, they're more likely to have psychiatrists on site, more likely to be staffed by social workers or at least run by social workers. They're usually smaller and lower density, so clients have an opportunity to have maybe a single room or share with one other person or two other people versus a dorm style environment. And overall, our clients just feel a lot more comfortable in those types of settings. That's really the broad strokes of what we do. Whenever I prepare something formal, I end up talking too much, and I wanted to keep it informal because I really wanted to know what questions people have. Susan told me that most of you have nonprofit backgrounds, so I imagine you're at least somewhat familiar with the client population and the work that we do. But I was hoping that you all could guide me with what you might be interested in knowing about our work, any questions you have.
Any questions? I will raise your hand and you will be called upon. Andrani.
So how many people do you place in, and how many people have you placed in permanent housing?
That's a good question. So last year we placed a little over 400 people into transitional housing, our last fiscal year. So our fiscal year runs July 1st to June 30th. So we placed a little over 400 people into transitional housing and about 120 in permanent housing.
Are they still there?
We have about a 95% retention rate. Yeah, each year it's different, but it's always in the 90s. We do a 1-year follow-up.
And I'm sorry, one last question. Where
Yeah,
are
sure.
the housing that you are able to get them?
They're all over. So the transitional housing, we work with a lot of different, all of the transitional housing sites that we work with are DHS funded sites. And they're all over 4 boroughs that we have access to. They also exist on Staten Island, but we don't have access to those. And our clients wouldn't go there anyway. But there are many sites. There probably is like a total of around 50 sites. And they're all over Manhattan, Bronx,
And then
Queens, and Brooklyn.
And then permanent housing?
And then
where
the
do they
permanent
go?
housing, the same thing. So all over the 5 boroughs and all different types of supportive, mostly we refer people to supportive housing because most of our clients need that and are eligible for those services. So that's where they're going to have access to services similar to what we provide in the housing. So either on site or in an office close by. And that's also all over the 5 boroughs.
Okay, did you raise your hand, please?
Yeah,
Well, okay. Okay, Tana and then Richard.
I might have missed it. Is it adults and families, or what's?
Good question. Yeah, so we only work with single adults. So we work with single adults that are refusing placement in the single adult shelter system. Unfortunately, if we meet a family or a couple, we have to refer them to the standard DHS intake center for couples or families. There aren't any non-traditional paths for couples or families. But we would assist them with getting through that intake process. We could give them a ride there. We can give DHS an alert that they're coming in. We try to help them get through the intake process. So that can be kind of daunting, but our team wouldn't be able to provide them services. We only work with single adults.
Okay, Richard, then Tahisha, and then Roman.
What's your lower age limit for adults?
18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tahisha?
And it's for female and male
Correct.
adults.
And transgender.
Yeah, I was gonna, and non-binary. So my question is, do you guys do the outreach and have them, you go out in the street, or you're just getting mainly the referrals from them not wanting to be in the big capacity of the shelters?
Good question. So, all of our not all of our referrals, but the vast majority of our clients are from street outreach. So we actually just meet them where they're at. We have teams out 24/7, and that's how we meet most of our clients. We do get referrals from hospitals. We get referrals from other teams. We do have, other external referrals, but the vast majority of our clients, we actually met them sleeping on the street.
Okay, do they, this is my last one, do they, since they're on the street, is there more of a way that they want to do it, because if you're meeting them where they're at and not forcing them to do it, and you're giving them the education of what your services is it more of a, you're getting more attention in that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, most of our clients report that the shelters are very challenging. So I think that when we meet them, a lot of times they don't fully understand that we have something different to offer. So a lot of times what the work is building a relationship over time and trust over time. Some people accept services immediately. They're interested immediately. And a lot of people, it takes building the relationship. But I think to directly answer your question, yes, I think that coming to them where they're at, engaging them, just being very non-judgmental and focusing on building the rapport, I think that definitely helps them be more engaged in the process. But being honest, what we have to offer is more appealing than the shelter system.
Thank you.
Yeah. And sorry, I just want to touch on one more thing. Susan had asked me to talk about 311. So that is another way that we are made aware of clients. We have a system in the city where you can call 311 and report a homeless person in need of assistance. That's the jargon that you want to use when you call in. And then the outreach teams respond within 2 hours and go visit the person on the street. So that's another way that we find our clients, is just community reports that they're there, and then we go engage them, and then we engage them toward housing and other services from there.
Robin and then,
Yeah. So you're working with organizations in the community, you said?
We do, yeah. We get referrals. We get internal referrals from a couple of sources. Normally, we like to meet people on the street. Because word does travel about our services and our options. We are tasked with making sure that we're working with people that are in fact street homeless. So for the vast majority of our clients, we like to meet them on the street, but we do have a couple trusted referral sources. Bellevue is one of them. Housing Works is one of them. And we definitely work with community providers in general, not just in terms of getting referrals, but we do refer people to other community providers as well.
Because I have, there's a girl that I'm in communication with that I was trying to help get her a space, but we couldn't do it because the logistics of it, because it was males. She volunteers for East Village Neighborhood Who Cares, and they have over 70 men that need help, like housing and all these things. And I think that would be an amazing opportunity for you guys to connect and see how you can help her with that.
Are they migrants or no?
Some of them are, and some of them are homeless, single men.
Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up too. So first of all, I'd be happy to talk with them. Like I said, a lot of times people are interested in the services, but don't necessarily meet the criteria, and our resources are limited. A lot of the reason that the outreach teams were really created was to try to reach the people that, due to the severity of whatever is going on with them, whether it be substance use, mental health, physical health, just a deep lack of trust for the system, whatever the case may be, that they can have the extra TLC that's required to engage them to services. And there are a lot of people like that have been on the street for a really long time. So we do try to make sure that we're conserving the resources for that population.
What are your criteria?
They just have to be street homeless. So if somebody is actively engaged in the shelter system, they're staying there on a regular basis, we wouldn't be able to work with them. If they're couch surfing, staying with an aunt, like if they have unstable housing but aren't technically sleeping in public places, they wouldn't meet criteria. So sometimes we have people interested in referring, and I wish that our criteria was lower and that we had more capacity, because it's always really hard to say that's not exactly the population that we're trying to serve. But at the same time, I do see the value in, really trying to focus on the people that need that extra support, the people that have been really entrenched on the street for a long time. So yeah, just street homeless adults, single adults. And regarding the migrants, that's a completely separate system. If they're seeking asylum. So not just migrants in general, but if we speak to someone that says they're seeking asylum, they do have to go through the separate DHS asylum seeker system. And it's, unfortunately, that system, as I'm sure you've heard, requires, returning to the intake, and people get frustrated with that. And we do interact with a fair amount of people that have been through that system, interested in our services. Unfortunately, even if we refer them, DHS will pick up that they've been to the asylum seeker system and we'll refer them back to that system. So those people, unfortunately, we are not able to provide services for, aside from, like I said, what we do for families and couples, which is to give them a ride to the intake shelter and try to help them do the intake there.
I think you may have answered my question, because I was gonna inquire about the migrant and how that gets distinguished, and it sounds like the population, it just doesn't seem to get to your services because it's a different criteria, as you mentioned, right? So it's not really.
DHS created a separate system for the asylum seekers, and they require that everyone that's here seeking asylum goes through that system. It's not just migrants, it's specifically if they use the language that they're seeking asylum. Yeah. Which most of the people that are here recently, that is what they're doing. Yeah.
Ton?
Across your work, like what do you find are the barriers to temporary, even permanent housing that?
Yeah, there's so many. The application process is difficult. So the supportive housing application is something that's done through HRA, through the city. And they have to get copies of all of their vital docs. Most of our clients have lost those things over the years of homelessness. They have to do a couple assessments. They have to do psychosocial assessments, psych eval. There's just kind of a lot of like paperwork and bureaucracy that goes into like getting someone a housing packet. Then of course, when they have a housing packet, they're waiting for a match. And this is regarding permanent housing. Sorry, I should have specified that. The transitional housing is you can get in same day as long as there's a bed available. But for permanent housing, the housing packet, the bureaucracy involved in that, and then just waiting for a match because there's not enough permanent housing in the city. Also location. So a lot of our clients are from New York and they want to stay in their neighborhood. They have services in the area, they have connections in the area. So a lot of times someone will be from here and this area right here, and they'll get matched to something in the Bronx, and maybe they've never been to the Bronx, they just don't feel comfortable. So a lot of the supportive housing is built in areas that our clients here don't necessarily feel comfortable going to. In terms of transitional housing, the barriers really are, of course, beds, just, like having enough to meet the needs. And then having the type of housing that clients want. So many of our clients are willing to share a room. A lot of them aren't. Me personally, I can't imagine falling asleep in a room with somebody that I don't know. So I think just simply asking someone to do that in order to come inside is a huge barrier. Like I said, in the system that we operate in with the safe havens and stabilization beds, there's much more lower density options available, but there still are plenty of shared options. And, asking anyone, but especially someone that has usually a trauma history, which most of our clients do, to share, it's very difficult. So I think that that's a big barrier. Location can be a barrier with transitional housing too. We do have a fair amount of transitional housing down here, but that can also be a barrier that people want to stay in their community and that something's not available in the community. Anybody else? Yes.
Hey,
Oh, sorry.
Johnny?
Johnny and then Deborah, and then back to Richard.
Where do you guys do outreach in the, around here?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I should have said that when I first started talking. So where our catchment area is 23rd Street and below, river to river. So we, like I said, there's 4 teams total, and each team has a section of the city, and that's ours.
Deborah?
You just answered one of my questions. And when you said, and I'm sorry if I missed this, when people call 311, your teams respond in 2 hours.
That's right.
And you have 4 teams that deal with this catchment area between 23rd river to river, below 23rd river to river.
Well, so we have the Manhattan Outreach Consortium is 4 teams. And so we have a downtown team, a midtown team, a team that covers Upper East and Upper West Side, and then a team that covers the upper part of the island. So I have a lot of people on my team. If I'm fully staffed, I'm a team of 24 people, and including myself. And that's not including the teams that go out and respond to the 311s. That's actually a separate team.
Okay.
And then we have a night and weekend team as well. So our teams are 24 hours.
Okay. And a typical team consists of who? If you get
So-
the ones who respond to 311, who's on those teams?
That is just outreach workers, and they're out in vehicles responding to 311s. That team also does transports oftentimes. So if we need someone to have a ride to their safe haven bed, for example, like that team would often take care of that. They're field-based teams, basically. The staff that I supervise during the 9 to 5 hours, they do both. So they do outreach in the field, they try to meet new clients and engage them around services, but they also have a caseload of about 35 clients that they provide services to directly. They work with them to get into the transitional housing, to get their supportive housing packet together. And then, like I said, the wraparound case management services of whatever else they need.
You answered my 3rd question.
And one exception
Caseload
to the 311 response is during code blue, those calls are routed to 911, because during code blue, we have a very specialized charge from DHS to check at regular intervals on a predetermined list of people, a priority list that we create based on people that we know are on the street, that are not willing to come inside, that are vulnerable for a particular reason. We check on them on a set schedule to make sure that they're doing okay and intervene if there's an emergency.
30 degrees.
And Richard?
Thank you.
Okay, I did have one question, a little more about language, language access. So I know we talked about this in 21 and 22. I distinctly recalled we were at a Zoom meeting when we
Yes.
were all still in virtual. So you said that often you had to use a language line and, or a phone language line. And I don't recall what you said the languages were. But we said we wanted Chinese, and I think the HS told us there were big need for Haitian Creole at the time. Maybe it was a citywide thing.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So that's not
just
something
like
that we
to-
encounter that often.
Mhm.
The Haitian, we don't need that language particularly that often.
Yeah, so
but-
I'd like to know what in the past
Yeah.
2 years, any change did you see in terms of those needs?
Yeah, I'm happy to report that we now have access to in-person translators, and we have access to all languages with the translation service. So we can do translation over the phone, but we can also, if we request in advance, we can request an in-person translator, which we actually do often. And sometimes if we are we can technically, the first time we meet somebody, call the language line and do what you described, which I described 2 years ago, which is trying to talk to someone on speakerphone through a translator that's not
Very
there.
noisy, right? Yeah.
Like sometimes under an overpass. Technically we can do that. We have those services and we can call them in the moment, and that's great. that we have access to that. But a lot of times what we see working better is returning to the area at a planned time with an in-person translator. We also have had in-person translators come to the office. We have some nurses that are able to see a small portion of our caseload. So we've had translators come and meet with the nurse and the client in person. And that option's been a lot better. It's been really nice to do that. Yeah.
So in terms of the languages, are there?
All
any that stand
languages.
out?
They offer any language.
No, they offer any language.
oh,
What are the
the
languages of the clients you see,
Usually Spanish or a Chinese language
below 23rd?
in our area,
In your
right?
area, which is the one when you described
Yes.
23rd and below?
23rd and below, correct.
Questions?
Can I ask?
Yeah, oh, okay.
Could you, so we always every year in our district needs, say we want more safe havens.
We
And
appreciate that.
could you talk a little bit about the need, particularly for if someone is ready to accept services, they may want to stay in the community. We don't have very many safe havens down here.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what the wait is for them?
It depends on the time of year. This time of year, it can be like a couple of weeks before somebody would get a single bed. In this area, it just depends. You know, some days we get 5 beds at a safe haven that's down here. Some days we ask every day for a week, and there's nothing, and then it carries into the next week and the week after. So it really just depends on, it's all based on when someone leaves. So if somebody self-discharges themselves from the safe haven or moves into permanent housing, that's when something becomes available. But it can happen the same day. It doesn't usually. I would say that it usually takes a week up until a couple of weeks to get a bed in this area.
And could you also just mention the joint operations you do with the harm reduction organizations here?
Yes, we partner with Housing Works and Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center to do joint canvassing to provide the services, to offer the services that we provide and the services that they provide at the same time. We also do some joint canvassing with Trinity Church to offer meals in a couple of parks in our catchment area. I think those are our main joint canvassing.
And we try and get the police to call you a lot.
Yeah. I think, you know, we've offered to NYPD if they decide to, you know, if they're concerned about someone or if they end up deciding to do a removal, that they can let us know, so that we can try to follow up with the person at the hospital, or, you know, if they're just concerned about somebody, try to follow up with that person. Usually if they flag someone to us, it's somebody that we already very much know about. But yes, that's an option too.
Okay, just one thing I'll add. So when we do our district needs, one of the first things I do is call Alyssa and get, if you look at it, it'll have all the statistics for our community, how many people were placed during the year and that sort of thing. So we think it's important. One more thing, case management, we made our funding for you for outreach. So we made that one of our budget priorities. And the city basically, we just got the answers, which we'll be discussing tonight. They responded that they've already doubled money, and, you know, basically saying that money, extra funding is needed. But can you mention what your case management load is now and how it's changed recently?
Sure, yeah, right now we have a little over 400 people on caseload. And when I first started in this role, I think we were hovering around 300. So we've, you know, gone up quite a bit in the last several years. I started in this role, I think about 3 years ago. So we've been well over 400 in the warmer months a couple times. So our caseloads have gotten really large, and the case managers on my team have anywhere from 30 to 40 clients. Normally, I was telling Susan before we started today that we usually have like a cyclical hiring trend where we're able to hire more people like in the fall, but usually, you know, we have the direct support staff are making not a ton of money, Susan said. And, you know, there's a lot of turnover in these roles for that reason. So normally in the warmer months when we're busiest, we have less staff And the caseloads can get really high, like over 40 clients a person, which is a lot. The ideal caseload size, I think, in my opinion, would be like 20 to 25. So we sometimes get to be around double of what I think that the ideal caseload size should really be.
But you also seem to have this problem of like a pay parity, you know, because
Absolutely.
that's why there's this maybe rotating.
Absolutely, yeah. And I do think that even if we were fully staffed, you know, the thing about having more workers is that by default, you also find more clients. There's no way that we have all of the homeless, street homeless adults, 23rd Street and below on our caseload right now, because the lower staffing also contributes to less ability to canvas more and find new clients, right? So sometimes the more staff you have, the more clients you have also. But yes, that is definitely a big part of it. The pay parity is definitely a big part of it.
Maybe just a quick last thing. NYCHA developments, they experience sometimes the homeless walking in, you know, they tend to have broken front doors, so they,
Yeah.
could you explain, your services are, you know, they have to be street homeless. Is there any, do you find any, you know, referrals to, you know, into certain developments of NYCHA communities that, because there's an increase of, and I know because I sit on a lot of these TA meetings and that's always a common. What can we do? We call 911, you know, is your service another resource, or can you explain the difference if not?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's
MOU.
it's what?
They have the MOU, DHS has the MOU.
They have, yeah, so we don't technically go into any areas that's private property. We're supposed to be in public areas.
Right.
So in that case, DHS would send someone hopefully with the police. I would suggest that they reach out to DHS just to make sure that when the person is kicked out, because I'm sure that that's what will happen, that there's someone there. DHS has their own outreach teams. They contract with agencies like mine, with nonprofits to provide these services, but they also have their own outreach teams. So my understanding is that in a situation like that, they would send their own outreach teams who can also offer the non-traditional shelter options to the person if the person is refusing the shelter system.
Contact DHS.
Yeah, and ask if they can send an outreach team with NYPD instead of just sending NYPD. Because I think that they usually go together when it comes to a private property like that.
So, last night I went to meet the new PSA commanding officer, and tenant leaders from almost every NYCHA development was there. And each one of them spoke about two issues, homelessness and drug dealing. And I'm wondering, just to, I don't apropos what, I'm wondering if the police or the commanding officers know they should be contacting DHS. I suspect that may not be happening properly.
The other thing is, a lot of times when people reach out about somebody that's inside of private property, I ask, and a lot of times people know, where does this person hang out during the day? So a lot of times it's close by, and normally what a lot of people will do is they'll have maybe a street corner where they panhandle, they have like a regular location that's on the street, and then they would be coming into the building to have shelter at night, or when it's very cold or bad weather or something like that, the person is unlikely to be in there all the time. So if the building knows, if they see the person around and knows their, as we say, street location, we could outreach them there. And they could always call 311 when they see them outside. Like, you know, if it's somebody that lives in the building, they see the person in their laundry room, and then the next day they see them on the corner, I would say just call 311, say there's a homeless person in need of assistance, and someone can come.
Okay, Richard, last question.
Sorry.
Not another question, just a comment. For someone with no social service background, that your presentation is one of the clearest that I've heard so far on this
Oh.
committee. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's how I aim to talk. Want to make sure people understand me. That's the most important thing.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. And Susan can give you my information if you have any other questions.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Should I do? Well, I'm curious what her presentation is. Okay.
But they're not analysts.
Stay for hours.
Susan, if people are raising their hand on the Zoom, can I ask questions?
Sure. Oh, sorry.
Okay, we
Okay.
forgot, yeah,
Yeah.
we, okay, sorry, Zach.
Hello, Zach Thomas.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. This actually, sorry, it's not a question. It was more of like a point of order. Is there public comment at this meeting? Or did I miss that part at the beginning or?
What?
Public
He's
session.
asking about public comment at the meeting. Did you have an announcement or public session or something?
No, we didn't have a public comment section. Was there a question you wanted to ask regarding this particular topic? We usually don't have, in this committee, we don't have public comment, but we go agenda by agenda. Yeah, agenda item by
Oh,
item.
gotcha. Yeah, I read a resolution about, or just wanted to discuss like the fear of ICE raids in Community District 3. I know this is a Human Rights Committee. So I wanted to ask if like that's something the committee would be interested in talking about. I know you already have agendas, so maybe it's like not the time for it, maybe it's not the right committee, but that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, the ICE raids are hot on everybody's mind, including my own, but it is not an agenda item for this particular meeting today. So it can be for a future meeting.
Should I like message you about it or maybe talk to you at the full board meeting about it or?
Yeah,
Send an email to me and myself.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds good. Thank you.
all right.
Anyone else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I think I maybe will get home to my house. Thank you all so much for
Thank
having me.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next is barrier-free living. Here, Cynthia.
Cynthia, I'm the CEO at Barrier Free Living. I came last year and talked to you a little bit about 270 Second Street, and we just started our construction at the time. So I'm back to give an update a year later about how we're doing on the construction, and also to ask for a resolution about some artwork that we are proposing.
Between Second and Third Avenue?
Second and third.
Second.
You know, very.
Second Street.
Right with that, yeah, right off Houston Street, near the Punjabi like,
Gotcha.
grill. Yeah.
Once he said Punjabi
The
grill.
Punjabi grill, yeah, right there.
Our little building that's going.
Yeah.
So we're making great progress. We are expected to have construction completed by the end of this year, obviously pending how the rest of the winter goes. So we're really excited about it. And as a reminder, it'll be 75 units, 30 for the elderly individuals coming out of nursing home, transitioning out of nursing home back into the community. And when I say the word elderly, we mean 55 and above. I did not make that rule. There's always someone who asks me why I don't know what this is determined. I did not make that rule. And for domestic violence survivors living in shelter, to come into permanent housing. So it is supportive housing for people with disabilities and elderly individuals. As a reminder as to who we are at Barrier Free Living, we're a domestic violence organization for people with disabilities specifically. So we have community-based programming called Secret Garden, where we provide counseling, case management, legal services, occupational therapy for survivors of violence, adults only. And when I use the word disability, we're not a disability-specific organization. We service everyone with all different types of disabilities, mental health, physical disabilities, cognitive, could be vision impairment or deaf and hard of hearing. We do have a domestic violence shelter as well called Freedom House. It's the first fully accessible domestic violence shelter in the United States and still the only one in New York City at this time. And we also we currently do have supported housing in the South Bronx. We have 120 units there. So this will be our fourth program. So we're really excited to come back to the Lower East Side because that's where we started over 40 years ago. Any questions about the progress of the building?
Well, I'll.
Yeah, okay, Richard, and then.
You have other locations within Community Board 3?
No, this is the 270 East Second Street is our only location. The others are Two of the programs are confidential to the domestic violence programs, and the supportive housing program that we currently run is in the South Bronx.
Thank you.
Okay, Eric and then Deborah.
This is right off Houston on like Avenue C, correct?
Right across from the pool.
There's that, yes, good pool, which I grew up in, good pool, yeah. That, there's a tall building that went up, that's not, or that's kind of,
12 stories?
yeah.
Yeah, that's us.
That is you guys. I told my wife the other day, I said, no, it's barrier free living. So I just want to make sure I got it right. That's all, that looks like it's almost ready.
It is, we're getting there.
Congrats.
We're about 65% done. So at the end of the year, we expect to see.
That's nice. That's wonderful.
Deborah?
I'm sorry, you said there were 75 units for 55 plus is the age?
The 30 of those units will be for 55 and over. The
Okay,
remainder are for the domestic violence survivors.
got it. Okay,
One
thank
for
you.
the,
Sorry?
one unit for the super.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
I have a question. So, for the individuals that, experience domestic violence, are they referred to you, as clients, and that's how you meet them and screen them? And then also, I know you said something about counseling, is that in-house as well? And the people, are they serviced, the training is mainly in trauma?
So we have social workers and mental health counselors who are licensed, who are doing the counseling services. So the way people get to us, we have a hotline that people can call us Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It's on our website, bflnyc.org. People can also chat us on the website, and they can email us at info@bflnyc.org. So they can self-refer for the services, if they want community-based services. So it could be that they're currently in the domestic violence situation and they're looking to figure out what they want to do next. They could have been 5 years ago and now they need some counseling to process the trauma that they experienced around that and everything in between. For people who are looking for shelter, our number is also on the website, and they can either self-refer and say I'm looking for shelter and call us and ask us, or most people call the domestic violence hotline and see if there's a better.
Any other questions?
So for the new building, we are proposing some artwork. If we can
I'll
bring
share
it
it,
up.
yeah.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you. So this is my favorite part. I love the building, I love design, but thinking about making it a home for people, what that's gonna look like and feel like for our survivors and for our folks coming into the community was really important to me. And art is a very big piece of our work at Barrack Living around healing from the trauma that people experience. Because for some people that could be using our words, and for others that's art. So I was in DC and I was walking around the Renwick, which is a Smithsonian Museum, and I came across some artwork from an artist named Alicia Eggert. And the work was absolutely beautiful, it really touched me, and we contacted her. And we talked to her a little bit about the work that we do at Barrack Living. We did a lot of work showing her the Lower East Side, about our building, and what's that gonna look like and feel like to our community. And I really wanted to give something back to not only our Barrack Living community, but also the Lower East Side community. So with her expertise, we developed what you see on the screen now. It says now is never too soon to be free, and that word soon changes. You need to be in the presentation mode to see the full effect.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, jumped out.
Yes, itchy fingers.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So there, changed.
Maybe
Yeah, never too late.
Yeah.
The word soon and late changes, and it changes some of the meaning of the words. So it's never too soon to be free, it's never too late to be free. And in her work, she's determined the timing of that word switching, because when you're looking at it, it almost becomes like a meditative state. So it's not like I'm in Times Square, like lights flashing. No. Right? It's a slow movement. So we really, it's really meaningful to us, the word free, barrier-free living, and what that word encompasses for our survivors, seeking safety. And also just as a social impact, what the word free means to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions about this artwork? Yeah.
And my limited understanding on domestic violence shelters in general, but I have heard historically, it tries to maintain kind of a low-key status. How do you kind of anticipate, or how does that is that you feel to be?
So this building will not be a confidential location. There are survivors who are coming from shelter and coming back into the community, and that will be part of our work on how they maintain their safety in the community. We do have a lot of security set up and from that front door, and we will work with each survivor about what that would look like for their individual house.
Are children in this?
Yes, we will have our little tenants too. So we will have social workers and mental health counselors that will focus on the counseling services for the next household. We will also have family engagement specialists for our little tenants. And so the units will be studios, obviously for single individuals, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom, which is unique in the supported housing world to have 3 bedrooms.
Oh, yeah.
For our larger families.
So I guess to Eric's point, it's not really low key, so how would they feel about that? Because that's a big sign of, which is a big sign.
Yeah, it is a big sign, and thank you for bringing that up. So prior to me being here with you, we did present this to our barrier-free living community. And there was actually a lot of excitement about it, about how words will express, instead of having a big sign, barrier-free living. Just having some artwork that expresses who we are and what we do on the site. But we do have supportive housing in the Bronx, and it is for the survivors of violence, and that is currently where we house our admin offices, and it is not a confidential location. So we're very familiar about how to work with each individual survivor and maintain their safety in the ways that they want to maintain their safety. So in the victim services world, we really believe in each survivor and maintaining the safety in the way they want to, because they know best, not us.
Correct.
Okay, Alicia?
I was just gonna make a comment, because I'm going to school for mental health counseling, and I do, middle schools and high school with domestic violence. So, besides other things that I give services in the school, what I've noticed is they don't wanna hide and necessarily just wanna be safe. So I feel like if this is something that we already answered the question of, they are aware it is and it brought something to them. I think if you're not going through domestic violence or don't know anybody that survived it, the concept and what it is a little bit different. But I think the way you're describing it should be is really inspiring, because there's not a lot of housing that keeps them safe and makes them feel like they want to live in a different way.
Exactly, thank you. And it is each individual person is gonna have their own requirements regarding safety and what they went through. But we've done a pretty good job, because in the shelter, when you're coming directly out of the violent situation and seeking safety in a shelter, that's the most dangerous time for an individual when they're leaving the relationship, right? And that we do have very high security standards when we're in our shelter system. And that's also for our community-based program too, because people could be actively living in the situation while seeking services. But typically, the people are already in the shelter system, and they're out of the situation, and they've lived in the situation out of the situation for some time, and now it's time to come back into the community and figure out what that's gonna look like for them. And we do have like a do not enter list, for example, at the front desk to say these individuals are not allowed in the building. For some people, if that's what they want.
Okay, so thank you. It doesn't look like there are any other questions regarding this. So tonight we are being asked to support it and vote on a resolution to support the artwork because it's going to go to the design commission, and you need to get a permit, right? And so
they're
therefore.
the DOB, because there's some lights and engineering.
Oh, okay,
Has to do with it.
all right, so it's more for the permit. Okay, so that's the text of the proposed resolution. It's up on the screen. And it's a resolution in support of the installation and display of public artwork at 270 East Second Street, New York, 14009. It says, whereas barrier-free living is developing a 75-unit supportive housing program for the elderly and survivors of domestic violence, providing critical services and housing to vulnerable members of the community. And whereas barrier-free living proposes the installation of a neon light art display on the facade of 270 East Second Street as a means of fostering a visually engaging and socially impactful public art installation. And whereas Barrier-Free Living has collaborated with artist Alicia Eggert, an esteemed American artist renowned for her text-based neon works that address themes of social justice and empowerment. And whereas the proposed artwork will alternate between the messages, now is never too late to be free, and now is never too soon to be free. Crafted in purple glass neon on a steel painted framework designed for durable art installation. And whereas the artwork dimensions will be approximately 50 inches in height by 120 inches in width, ensuring visibility while maintaining aesthetic harmony with the building's facade. Whereas the installation of this artwork will contribute to the cultural and artistic enrichment of the neighborhood, align with the mission of barrier-free living, and serve as an inspiring public statement on freedom and resilience. Therefore, be it resolved that Manhattan Community Board 3 supports the installation and display of proposed neon light artwork at 270 East Second Street and acknowledges its significance in enhancing public space and community engagement. Also, be it further resolved that this approval is granted to facilitate the necessary permitting process required for installation of and long-term display of this artwork. Okay, any questions about the text? Yeah, Richard?
I'm assuming that you've been in constant communication with the commission. What kind of feedback have you received from them concerning the proposal?
I have not been in touch with the commission at this point in time. At this, we wanted to make sure that we had approval from the community board and from our direct building community. Work with our engineers and our architects, so forth, to make sure that we can actually make all this happen before we propose something.
What's the approval process?
Lots of paperwork with the engineer, the architect.
Length of time?
It's a good question, we're going to find out, because after that, we also have to look at the DOB process, because there will be engineering and electrical work that needs to get done. That's why the engineer and the architect are critical, not just the artist.
Thank you.
All right, Susan, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, remember when you were in parks, all the design of the playgrounds?
Oh,
We
yeah.
had to vote on the design, to go to the design commission. It's
Okay.
the Same thing.
Gotcha.
Okay, and Ronnie?
I'm sure like it's in the works, but it will be protected, of course, so it, against,
Yes,
yeah,
so
like,
the
so.
glass, so one thing our architect is working on is figuring out how we can have an enclosure, so not someone can go by. Yeah, but it is gonna be pretty high up, so you won't be able to touch it, and, I'm sorry, if you saw the artwork, there is like some planters, there's some planters there, and then the artwork, so you would have to like jump over the planters to get to the artwork, it is pretty high up, so you can see the doorway there, to give you an idea, it's like 7 feet high. But we are working on figuring out how to protect it, not only from vandalism, but also just making sure that it's protected from materials.
Will it cost extra in electricity?
No, but we did ask that question, it's not gonna cost that much more. And we are meeting with the sign designer as well, to understand how we're gonna put it up, and there is an expert sign designer that will be doing this. Because he has to make the glass artwork and install it. Yeah, but no, it won't cost that much.
So do you think we're ready to vote? Yes. Yeah, okay. Larry?
Okay, may we?
Yes.
Larry Fenn, yes. Tom Bowie,
Yes.
Eric Diaz,
Yes.
Tanisha Fields,
Yes.
Naima Fafana,
Yes.
Deborah Blanc,
Yes.
Fabian Olivares,
Yes.
Andrani Rivera,
Yes.
Richard Opia.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, so it's past this committee and
So,
then I
I'm
just
always-
want
I'm
to
always-
at the end of the
I'm
month, and that's when they.
I love that.
finally on it.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, you do well.
Two blocks over.
Okay.
The other,
I just had a concern.
you know, this house.
Yes. Yeah, with the angle, yeah.
Okay, so, next up.
So we'll go to the
end of the month.
Okay, okay, next item. We're like more than halfway there, almost at the end. But this is a little bit more difficult. Okay, so, okay, first up, CAB and CEC reports.
Oh, I did it last time, you can go.
I was there.
You were there, witnesses.
Gouverneur,
CAB?
sorry, Gouverneur Cab, yeah.
Okay,
And so for Gouverneur Cab,
you were there, but you were not there.
No, I was there, but last time I gave this, so
She wasn't there.
Well, you're supposed to give it all the time, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, you're the one, no, you never, no, you never did, remember, because there was that limit or something, and
but
then
he's back on.
Yeah, but as himself.
She's back.
No, you're right, so, yeah, so it's just, yeah, so he's back on, but then,
It's fine.
there was.
Can I just say, these mics are all up here, so there's a lot of conversation. We get complaints that people, watching on Zoom can't hear, so I just wanted to alert you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So who's the
So
CB3 rep?
Grauman is the rep.
Go ahead, Rep.
So we spoke about the blood drive that they're having, explaining everything that they're trying to do in Gouverneur and all the things that they're bringing up. They were talking about the funding that they're having and everything, and they're continuing to do the same thing that they are. I know that there's like a back and forth that's going on with a few of our candidates just because one of our cabin persons made a complaint about a patient that's there. And they were just standing up, because they were just standing up for that person to say what that person experienced and what that person went through, and the cabin was not very open about that. They didn't like that. So they were like, we don't want to make it personal, but then the other person was saying, okay, but this is I'm in the community, I'm always around the community people, and this was brought up to me, and I'm just letting you know that I'm bringing it up to your attention. But they didn't address it, they just moved it to the side, so trying to see where the boundaries of that is. The cabin is trying to find a solution for how can we still be on these boards and still give our opinions. I guess that's where we're at.
Hospital, Presbyterian,
They haven't met. I'm still waiting.
all right, and Arnett's not here.
I could go CEC. CEC, we're working on a resolution for we are putting pressure on Carrie to send parents a letter, even if it's from just their principals, because the DOE is not approving anything yet. We just want to tell them that we are here for them. If they need help, come to the parent coordinators. What do you need? The school understands that parents are nervous, that things are going on and that is happening. So we're pushing for her to do that for us. We're writing a resolution that we're working on with one of the FACE members. We're gonna present it this month, next week, to CEC1, and hopefully if it passes, then we can bring it on to CB3, so you guys see if you can support us in that. It's a resolution that FACE has approved, and they did it themselves, and it's working with all of them, so hopefully we can bring it and continue to do that. So we are very limited with what we can do, or what is considered spaces where we can have children in, or what can we do with these children, because the DOE doesn't consider offices, principals, offices, libraries, they don't consider none of these, private spaces. So, it's very difficult to know that if the kids are in school, they're safe. We don't have access to the kids' records, so we don't know what kids are minors or not, we don't ask that. So it's kind of hard when the kids and the parents are leaving the schools because they're out of our care. So when they're in our buildings, the kids are safe, but we're just finding out, getting parents to fill out information. You have one person that can pick up this kid, give us 2 more people that you can trust and have these kids, just so that we don't want to give these kids to the city, I guess.
Okay, well, I'll get more information from our next. Susan?
Yeah, as far as the resolution, we have a couple of groups, and I think CEC is part of both of them. We have the Open Arms, which is a network of various groups in the community, trying to help the asylum seekers. And for Open Arms, I think the CEC is probably one of the biggest partners, but we have, other organizations. And there's another new one that I didn't know about till now. They're having a meeting tomorrow morning that I'm going to. And again, the Open Arms is going to be part of that. So I'm just thinking of a resolution, share.
No, we're gonna share the thing is that this is coming from faith, so we just, DOE is very delicate as to what we can touch and not touch. So since this one is approved by them, we already know that they approved this, so we can share this. We're gonna present it next week. We did meet with the Open Arms today.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and we are gonna have
The regular meeting, not a different meeting, the meeting that I went to, the same meeting.
That, you're saying, yeah, it was
Yeah.
presented at that meeting.
Yeah, at that meeting.
So we are gonna, we're going to, meet with the CC, approve that, then we're gonna bring it here and see if we can all come in collaboration, because that's the point. Like, all of us sharing the same information, so no one will have different information. I know that, so on the CC, the reason why I'm answering all these questions is because I'm the vice president of CC. So that's what we're doing. We are having a meeting with all the parents, what we're trying to do. We will send you the flyer so we can know. It's with Open Arms too. We're gonna make a meeting, it's called Family Safety Plan, so that we can teach families how to have a safety plan. So we're setting that up for maybe next week or the following. But we're just trying to do and share information as much as we can, protecting ourselves and not trying to get arrested in the process, but have a solution. We're working with the after school programs, so all the DOBs in our after schools, which is Greenwich House, which is Henry Street Settlement, which is University Settlement. We're having all these partnerships. Say, what are the plans? What are you doing if they come? What is the procedures? So we are we're on hands-on wherever we can, but we are very limited because the DOE doesn't touch a lot of things.
So Dan Goldman is also having meetings, and CEC should be part of that.
Yes, I'm not sure why we're not included, but I'll
No,
definitely.
they just started.
No, but that's a nice way, a nice place. That's a nice place to share all the information, because
Yeah.
we wanna share everything we can, but as long as it's the correct and.
Well, he could be very.
Yes.
So we're gonna make sure that his group is Brooklyn and he's dealing with a lot of direct providers.
As soon as we pass a resolution on next Wednesday, I will send it to you that night, maybe, so you can see what we're talking about.
Okay, so I was at the same meeting that she was talking about, and they were talking about the safety plan. I mean, this is what people had to do, under the last administration. What happens if my parents aren't there? And, what do I do next? It was that kind of thing, and I'm talking about little kids or older kids, but, one of after school. So, University Settlement was there, and she said that, they don't have guidance either, what they need the same guidance as the school, about, transporting or, them from after school to school. And they said that they were not getting anything from DYCD. And she sounded like DYCD should be giving them more guidance, but DYCD is not. So they're a DYCD funded program.
I participated in a couple of sessions that DYCD held on what you do if ICE agents show up.
Oh.
So
I mean, those are what you do. So this is the thing, those courses that they're doing and things, when if you're in the DO, like I'm part of working in the DOE too, we can't do, like, our hands are tied, right? So that, not only us, but the teachers, the principals, the after-school team, maybe they can move kids to another, like, these are questions that we're asking now. Like, I asked last week, if we put a sticker stating that is a private office, we can use that as a base. According to the Department of Education, we cannot do that in their buildings, that's not allowed.
That's
So
true. There's a red card that we were printing out. That's supposed to, like, I think it was through Goldman's office. They print this red card, put it in front visibly, but some schools were not allowing us to.
So no, but even this, like, the DOE said no, the legal department. So every idea that we're throwing at Carrie, she's returning to us with, I can't, my hands are tied.
Their mayoral agency, who's their boss.
Exactly. So it's like, they're not giving us anything. The mayor's office is not responding with anything. So this is just things that we're taking upon ourselves so that us as a community can respond correctly and all together at the same time and know what we're doing. So hopefully we can continue those talks and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I think what they meant by guidance is not just the what advice shows up to the training, but something that's more like,
But we did have a meeting with all the DOE, with all the OBs, which is like the head of each after-school program. They're trying to find out if a school is not okay. Hey, can I come over to your school because we have endangering, let's move all the kids. And maybe if this is like a plan that they put out, and we're trying to see if we can get a proof of that. Like, if something's going on in your school, can you bring all the kids to our school or separate them in different buildings, since we are in these buildings till 6 o'clock? But we haven't gotten any approval yet. And the after-school program did not get approved either to use these rooms as private rooms and not being able to let them in. If they're gonna get in, they have to, so we're limited. That's the problem.
But I think there's, like, I get what you're saying, but I think there's also trainings where legally what our rights and what their right, like silent family.
Yeah, we already had like 2 or 3 of those for families, and we continue to have them, but that's like, all that they can use themselves personally, and we don't mind giving those. But when we train the principals, when we train the safety officers, school safety, they had a training too. The PTA parents had a training. The parent coordinators have a training.
Social workers.
Yeah, all their trainings are limited because I'm putting myself in that we can't touch and we can't take it upon ourselves to just leave this. We can't take these kids anywhere. We can't hide them. We can't do that. That's recording. But if it's like us personally taking it upon ourselves, we could, as a person in the street, we can record. Try to be as paying attention as possible, trying to see if you can help them, things like that. Those are things that you take upon yourself, but the DOE doesn't.
Yeah.
It's very limited.
Yeah, I don't think, yeah.
Okay, good, I'll just sum up. Okay, so, all right, thank you. Okay, next thing. Agenda item number 6, committee goals. Okay, so this is something that we don't do frequently. And the last time we did it was before I joined this committee, Susan. The last time it was just as I was joining the committee, so can you tell us how this came about, or is it, Andrea thought it's a good idea, or President?
The boards, when Scott Stringer, the city charter says that every community board must submit an annual report every year. No one ever does this. We didn't know we were supposed to. When Scott Stringer was borough president, he made every board do this, and he created a template. And part of the template was goals for the coming year, and then after that, to look back on whether you accomplished your goals and create goals for the next year. So we haven't done it since then, but this has come up at borough board, which is where all the chairs go, not from the borough president, but from some of the chairs, and it's just been part of a discussion. It seems like a good way for committees to focus and even be able to create agendas based on what they want to do, and it's very different I think for every committee. And, it's hopefully like could be 1, 2, or 3 goals. Kay has some samples there of what we did from 2012. Basically, it could be educating the committee in certain ways, it could be gathering information. Hopefully it's something other than raising your hand and voting on something. But it's, that's the issue, to kind of focus where you want to put your focus, what you would like to be doing, what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be too complicated. It's, more like a list of things we would like to do. So, for.
Like us as a group, sorry.
No, the committee, not the whole community board. So each committee, if you look at,
I mean, but all of us here would make.
Right.
Some stuff.
So, yeah, so it's, but it's we're covering the committee only. And for example, in human services, in 2012, no, that's accomplishments. We had accomplishments. Our goals were to, okay, long time ago. Create separate with human services committee to advocate for a school in Spora. So Spora is, the school at Essex Crossing. So we're gonna advocate for a school at Essex Crossing. Raise the fund for the city of New York to create a comprehensive inventory of services and senior assessment programs. So this is like a project, so it's not a committee agenda item, but it's something that's for health and human services.
And I just mentioned to the school, what we did was we hired somebody to work with the committee almost a year. And created a white paper, which is on our website now.
Yeah, we did a lot. We worked with the CEC, they had a charrette, a meeting.
Our main goal right now, the biggest that we're trying to get this year or coming year is free after school for K-5.
Yeah, but that's.
Right, so that's, right, so, well, no, that is, so that could probably like an advocacy ask for the budget,
But that has to be.
or after school, yeah, so this is more like, so we have like creating resource list, advocating for, a larger kind of thing, so that's what. Let's see what else we have. I think one year I remember there's like, we have to follow up with about the nursing home, that was a goal, follow up about the nursing home. That was a goal. That was something we talked about like afterwards one year, whatever.
That was really a hard goal for the committee to do.
Right,
because
yeah.
One person follows up.
Right, yeah. And a lot of it is not within our control, so, but these are things we can do, making a resource list, advocate for a mandated senior disabled resident inventory for emergency planning and supporting emergency services. Create a list of resources for future youth programs, inventory, and assessment of CB3 and youth. And youth and CB3. So it's like, so like any kind of needs or reports that we can create and put on our website that's useful for ourselves. Another thing we did, which we weren't formally asked to make a goal, is that I remember someone talking about in the schools, there's no like a directory of mental health services for the parents. No, they have directories, but the services that they have in the schools are for the kids, not for the parents, right? So then remember you hired an intern who
She did a survey of all the services.
Yeah.
So, we can hire somebody to do something, but it would be the committee working with them.
Yeah. So that's. So I don't. So we continue this discussion more. I don't think we're gonna finalize everything today because you're hearing it for the first time. And, we need time to think about it, but.
So I should put it back on the agenda for next month and you'll come up with something next month.
Yeah.
is it possible to share examples of what those goals were with everybody?
Making for it all.
Yeah, I can say, yeah, we didn't, I mean, you've been on the committee a long time, I mean, you know what, I mean, you know that.
No, I know, it's why it's helpful to have
How long,
visual.
this was 2013, it's like.
Yeah, no, I know, it's way before.
They weren't all good, you gotta pick out the good ones.
Well, yeah, you wanna know what not to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, so. Okay. Okay, the next is the prelim, okay, we're up to item number 7. Preliminary budget responses for the fiscal year 26 budget. So the, we have, so the, you talk.
So, you know, in October, we voted on budget, a request, and they were related to our district needs. So as part of the process in January, we get responses. It's called the preliminary budget, and then we will later get an executive budget, and then at the end of June, there'll be adopted budget. We usually, as committees, so every time we get information, I put it on the website under resources. There's a section for city budget, and the newest stuff is always right there. And I usually announce it at full board, but there's a lot going on. So I just want you to know, you can always look there. And in previous years, we didn't look at it by steps. And I think looking at it by steps, for one thing, just makes it more comprehensible. So what I did, you see, I color code all the time. I have here, blue is capital and yellow is expense. And what I did is I cut and pasted, where you see the stars, those are human services. So we can just look at those. It's very difficult to tell you have to look at what the request was, but then on the right, you'll get agency responses. And then they do this, it's not easy. Then they do a thing that's more detailed responses. I didn't print this out for everyone, but I have one copy for me. So if we can pass these out, and we can take some time to just look, and there can be responses, and I'm going to suggest maybe one of the goals might be following up on budget requests.
Yeah, we need to.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I was like, what?
This is, I'm just gonna say, this is only for this committee. We have it now, but if you ever want to look at the whole thing, it's on our website. Everybody have everything?
Yes.
Yes.
Have one blue and one yellow.
So if you notice, if you start looking at the yellow, our number one priority was more funding for homeless outreach. We specifically put in the request the information about the caseloads. And if you look here, you'll see that the response is the agency's working with providers to ensure services. Further funding to provide services has doubled. So they didn't address the question.
Yeah.
They're saying we gave them more money. Well, even if you doubled it and the homeless tripled, it's not enough. So this example, I think the next one was for Safe Haven. This is something the mayor has made a huge investment in, not because of us. That has been funded. If you flip the page, we asked for funding for foster care. And this is your usual. We support but cannot accommodate. This is what, funding for Promise NYC was increased. We'll be working with OMB to see if we can maintain or expand. Another one was runaway and homeless youth programs. Again, supports but cannot accommodate.
What's the rationale behind the phrase cannot accommodate?
Don't have money.
Yeah.
But we have money for other things.
Richard.
Sorry.
That's how it is.
Like,
It's unfortunate.
Yes. So you can look at, the NORCs, we wanted more money for NORCs, naturally occurring retirement communities, the Cornerstone and Beacon programs. Now, this is a new one.
Yeah.
So we complained in the past that we didn't, that a lot of their answers didn't make sense. So now they have a new answer that is pretty insulting. Agency does not support and cannot accommodate, remove request. Remove. So I already sent today, I sent to city planning, I said, before you send out the next ones, I think you need to find some different wording. Next one, that was an after-school program, remove request. Bridging the Gap program, remove request. School nurses, remove request. Senior center programs, support but cannot accommodate. Enhanced home care, support but cannot accommodate. Summer youth employment, one of our favorite things, remove request.
It's all DYC.
On the new school, or Essex Crossing, remove request. And then all the other.
I'm sorry.
All the other capital things, Robin, this is these were all.
I'm sorry, number 29, other foster care and child welfare requests on the yellow sheet.
Yeah.
Agency supports and can accommodate.
Remove request, goodness gracious.
Well, that means they're already doing it.
Okay.
They need to find better wording.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
That means it's already funded.
Funded, okay.
Okay, so after the school, all of our capital requests we took from CEC. We took, I think it was the top 5 or something, CEC requests. Every one of them is negative. They're saying they support, well, some of them are remove requests and some of them are resubmit requests. So on these, since they're CEC requests, I assume that CEC will be following up on that.
Yeah, we have the answer for our request. And the only thing that was approved was lunch tables for one school, but everything else was denied.
So,
money coming this year.
so on this more detailed thing, which I'm sure you don't want me to go through all of them, but a lot of answers are, please contact the agency directly for more information. Everybody can look at this. This is on the website. If you go under resources, city budget, this is the second thing you click on. This is the top and this is the second. And I would suggest that pick out some that are important and, maybe contact the agencies. I don't know whether they may come here or they may say that they'll have a meeting with a few people like during the day. I don't know. We have to find that out. But that is one option. Also, we are supposed to submit a letter of comment to the preliminary budget. The board as a whole, every year I bring it up and no one ever does it, so I usually do it. And I will do it again, but I would like the committee to say the things that they think should be in there. I would suggest maybe on the yellow sheet, maybe like the top 3 or something. I mean, I have to do that now. It has to be in like in about 2 weeks. They don't give you much time.
You're submitting comment on, some of them. You want to start?
Well, yeah, we can't do everything, and I'm gonna be doing it for like more than one committee, so, yeah, I would suggest, so a lot of boards were supposed to have another public hearing, again, our board has never done this, to get comments from the public. Some boards actually vote on it, and then they complain that there's not enough time to vote. I don't understand why we would have to vote since we've already voted on all of these things. It makes no sense, so.
So the comment is not to change anything we requested.
It's to further advocate. It's a further, like if I were commenting on the first one, I would go in again and talk about the number of homeless that increased, the caseload that increased, that kind of thing. It's sort of enhanced advocacy.
Okay, so if we're to go with the suggestion of the first three, that's about.
It would be homeless, safe haven. I wouldn't do safe haven because that is funded.
I suggest dropping down and thinking about supporting the NORC item.
I second.
So the first two are regarding homeless, but you're saying it's not.
The only thing I wouldn't is the safe haven because there's a critical amount of it. But I would do the homeless outreach and then the next childcare promise.
Yes.
I'm talking right now.
The number 3 on here is Promise NYC. I certainly think that they're saying they can't accommodate a resubmit request.
Yeah, because it's like for only foster care.
Promise NYC?
It's, yeah, it says explanation, Promise NYC. The way they write it, it's very hard, actually. Larry, I don't know if you could get our requests up there if we go to the community board website.
So Promise NYC is very beneficial to immigrants because they're not eligible.
I should have.
Also, what they're saying, go here.
If you go under about.
No, that they're
for
stating
district
that this
profile.
is the funding for it, I guess.
It was, yeah, it was increased. Does not have a promise and FY.
And then it should be expense, go under expense and see what number 4 is.
Let's run away and homeless.
Okay, so it's runaway and homeless youth, and number 3 was that Promise?
That was Promise NYC.
Okay, so it's Promise and then runaway and homeless. That would be the next 2. You guys have already ranked them, I mean.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, that was so shocking. But I don't know if they're saying remove strategically, if they're saying remove request, how much attention are they gonna give for advocacy on that?
Yeah.
We don't have to remove it, right? I mean.
Well, when I
what does it mean?
when I sent my
Don't ask
email,
next year, or what does it mean?
I don't know, when I sent it back, I said, nobody can tell us what to do. Yeah.
Everybody voted on it, right?
Yes, so we're not removing anything, so the next step is, they started this last year, none of the committee chairs were available. The chair, the district manager, hopefully the committee chairs will meet on Zoom with DCP and go through our requests, and we will ask questions like that.
Oh, okay.
And if you remember last year, I promised that never again would we have to do one list. So that's for sure now. For next year, when you vote on priorities, it's gonna be by agency. Each agency is gonna get their own list and we're never collating them.
Yeah, 'cause
Makes sense.
So district managers did that.
Yeah. Sure,
resources
yeah,
are-
it makes sense, yeah.
And they were saying the agencies don't see it.
They don't see the other people's anyway, so.
Yeah,
I said, why should we be pitting after school
Doesn't make
against
sense.
Senior
meals
center.
for seniors?
Or
Exactly,
that
yeah,
against parks
yeah.
or, you know, stuff like that, you know, so.
So what are we doing now? Are we voting? Are we
Yeah.
prioritizing?
You're
No,
just,
no, we're not.
we're just deciding for the letter of comment, we're picking between 1 and 3 for me to advocate for.
Oh, I see.
And I'm suggesting we take the top
I see.
2 or 3, taking out Safe Haven because they're just not huge.
Understood.
So the first one was homeless outreach. So it's homeless outreach,
Homeless and runaway youth and runaway and homeless youth programs. My suggestion is you guys vote against this. This is how you voted to rank.
Understood. I would like to kind of second Richard. I like if we could squeeze in the Newark at number 3. So it's one of your top 3s, Susan. Folks feel about that.
Well, you're just reordering the ranking and that's it. So I don't know, I mean, that's,
saying we should do 4, but you know, but if you pick like that, then you reordered it. Is that what you're saying?
well, I can only do a certain amount. So if you want to do 4, I'm gonna say one of you write up a little blurb for that. And I will do the others.
So if there, are you gonna volunteer to write up the blurb?
For one of them, she said.
For the Norths.
Yeah, for the North.
Okay, I will send you a sample letter so that you'll have that in about a week.
Okay, by next week. Okay, no problem.
If that's what you all decide.
So do you wanna do 4?
Do the top 4 taking out safe havens.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, no, raise your-
Yes.
What would be the advantage or disadvantage? Is that just one more for them to ignore or to fight?
I don't think, so we talk about so the DMs talk about this stuff a lot. And some boards have gotten some responses. We have never, most boards don't get responses. Do I think anyone's gonna change anything? No, but it showed that, you know, we have this advocacy and sometimes like even in testimony or something like that, when you're talking about something, you say, and this was our top in the letter of comment, and this was our top here,
So then it was,
that kind of stuff.
or whatever.
You gotta show up, show up and speak your voice, that's what it means.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just saying for
yeah.
this year.
Yeah,
Why not
yes.
do 4?
Okay.
Okay, so is there a consensus?
Yes, there is a consensus, we're gonna do the top 4, but,
Minus.
minus safe havens.
Mhm.
Eric has volunteered to do the write-up with the North, and Susan's gonna send him the sample letter.
Yes.
With the deadline that you need to get it back by, so, because she has a deadline to meet.
Mhm.
All right, good. So finally, what's next?
Then I would like to ask, I'd like to put this back on the agenda for next month, because I would like to ask people to look at the further details and decide if we want to follow up with any agencies.
Okay, so we'll have this back on the agenda and also the goals back on the agenda. Oh, okay, so now we can have the vote to adjourn.
That's it. Oh, did it? Oh, okay. Second that.
A roll call to adjourn.
I did finish writing some things. Okay. Maybe
Here.
Larry Fenn, Dr. Glass.
Here.
This is all out of order. Tom Bowie.
No, you actually.
Okay, Eric Diaz. Yes, here. Taisha Fields.
Here. Sorry.
And Johnny Rivera.
Here.
Richard Nokia. Raven Alvarez. Scott, absent, Carmen Perez, absent, and Farah, absent.
And then I go to meetings and be like.
That was Naima. The young one.
She came right after.
Yeah.
Because remember.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Maybe you met her 8:30 requirement.